Hey everybody, this is Dirt Bike Channel. I'm your host Kyle Brotherson, and today we're going to be talking about the 2021 KX250X right here and see how much she weighs. Stick around. So I'm pretty excited about this bike. I actually think it looks fantastic, and I've actually ridden this bike one time. I got to ride this bike yesterday. I've had it for a little over a month, and I weighed the bike as soon as I got it. What I do with all my bikes is I weigh them full of fuel and full of like coolant, anything else. I don't put any aftermarket parts on them. So before I put the hand guards on this bike and before I put like my fork guards and whatever else I put on the bike, I fill it full of fuel and I weigh it. I put it on the scale, and I'm gonna roll that in right now to show you how much this thing weighs. I do that with all my bikes. I just fill them full of fuel because that's how I ride the bikes, is full of fuel. So it actually weighs 240.5 pounds or 109 kilograms, as you can see there in the video. I've just got my phone for some notes. So it's actually a pretty light bike. This is the first year that the KX250 motocross bike got electric start, so they put electric start on the bike. Welcome to the party, Kawasaki. I think the 450 had electric start before, but the 250 did not. And then this 250X, even though it says 250XC, they changed the name and it's just called the 250X. Even though they did that after they printed the graphics and my manual. But it does have electric start, which is cool. I'm not gonna go into the nitty gritty of like what's right or what's wrong about the bike, because I do have some things already that I know about that. Let's just talk about the weight though. One thing to know is it only has a 1.64 gallon tank. So that means gas is 6 pounds per gallon. So that means it's carrying 9.84 pounds of fuel. Let's compare this to two other bikes that I've done just recently. Number one, let's compare it to the 2020 Yamaha YZ250FX. That bike, as you can see, it carries 2.25 gallons, so it's carrying 13 pounds of fuel, a little over 13 pounds of fuel. So the YZ250FX, on my scale, my commercial shipping scale that I do all this on, it's 4.5 pounds heavier than the Kawasaki, but we have to keep in mind that 3.48 pounds of those is fuel. So this bike and the Yamaha are actually within 1 pound of each other if you fill them the same amount of fuel. Just something that I thought was really interesting. So it's funny how all these bike manufacturers are kind of coming to right around the same exact weight, even though they're putting, you know, these things on the bike. Let's turn around and look at the Sherco. Pardon me that the Sherco is still, it's dusty. I rode it the other day and I didn't wash it because I'm going on a ride. Anyway, I normally wash the bikes, but it only got dusty. So this one has a 2.56 gallon tank, so it's a much bigger tank. It carries almost 15 and a half pounds of fuel. So when you look at this, you say, well, dang, it's a lot heavier than the Sherco, but really it's only 5.5 pounds heavier once you correct for the weight in fuel. So it's quite a bit. This bike, the Sherco, is about 5.5 pounds heavier, but the Sherco, when I ride it, it doesn't feel heavier than this bike. So weight on the scale and weight on the trail are not the same thing, but it is one data point, so I like to point it out. I'm happy with how light this bike is, especially with it being a 4-stroke. They've gotten these bikes lighter and lighter and lighter, and this thing is no exception. I wish they still made a 2-stroke version of this, but the bike, just to spoil it just a little bit for you, when I rode it yesterday, I actually had a really, really good time. This has the KYB fork on the 250. This is a fork protector that I added later, but it has the KYB fork, and it's the 4th fork, KYB fork in a row that I've had on bikes this year, and this one is pretty darn good. The Beta is the only one that messed up the valving on the KYBs. The Beta, the 2020 Beta 300 RR Race Edition was horrific in its stock valving. This one's good. The Yamaha was good. I think the best valving of all of them actually is on this Sherco right over here. Consequently, you can enter to win this Sherco. If you're watching this video before December 15th, you can enter to win this Sherco and the two other, I've got 2 KTMs over there that I'm giving away. Go to my website, dirtbikechannel.com, to get entered. Anyway, it's all here about the Kawasaki. Looks fantastic. I love the way it looks. Absolutely love the green. And the bike is pretty darn fun to ride. So I don't want to spoil any of the other things. You can go listen to my podcast, because I record a podcast on the first impressions of this bike that came out way before this video that I'm doing right now, because I recorded the podcast this morning and it's already live now. This video, who knows how much longer it'll take for me to get it out. So anyway, that's what I've got for you guys today. The weight on this bike is 240.5 pounds or 109 kilograms. pretty remarkable and fun bike to ride so far. So that's all I'm going to tell you guys. Okay, if you want to support me, use the links down in the video description. I've got links also on my website. If you click in the upper right hand corner, dirtbikechannel.com, there's links to Rocky Mountain ATV, Motorsport, Amazon. I've got all those cool things over there. You're going to spend the money anyway. You might as well give a referral bonus to me for doing that. That's what I've got for you guys today. So until next time, lead a single track. Thanks.